Well, Keisha, we really appreciate you being on the Create Your News podcast. You have an extensive background. I'm going to let our viewers and listeners know a little bit more about you. So you're an award-winning cloud engineering and machine learning technology leader with over 25 years of IT experience. You've been recognized by industry leaders like Amazon Web Services, AWS, Forbes, and Oracle. And we know that you blend your technical expertise with leadership skills honed at Harvard Business School. Good for you. She holds multiple AWS certifications, including the machine learning specialty, and has won numerous awards for her predictive policing AI solutions. Keisha, thank you so much for being on this podcast with us. As we mentioned, you have an extensive AI background. I want to ask you, like many leaders, business leaders, they hear about AI. It's coming on so fast and furious. They might think it's a little bit out of reach. How do you explain what AI can actually do for a business this day and age in simple terms?
That is a great question. When I think about what AI can do for businesses, we've only really scratched the surface of what's possible. A lot of the organizations that I work with today, the way they use AI, it's to automate business processes, automate things that are repetitive, thinking of ways to just boost productivity, to have faster time to market for whatever it is, your product that you're trying to sell or whatever it is you're trying to do. I remember when I started my AI and machine learning journey back in 2017, that was the perception that I had about AI, that it was just this complex technology. You needed to be working in a research lab or going after your PhD in order to understand it. And that's really not the case. And where we are today with generative AI is just really what I've been waiting for since 2017, because we're now starting to realize the benefits of what this technology can bring.
And if a company wants to start using AI, if they're not using it right now, what's the very first step that you would recommend them do?
I would recommend starting with the business problem. That's an easy way to approach it. A lot of organizations like to start with tools like ChatGPT. Let's start to use ChatGPT without really thinking about what the business problem is they're trying to solve and what that end result for the business will be. And once they start with what is that business problem, I always recommend that companies do an AI assessment, because you really need to understand the state of your data. Data is critical for any AI project to be successful. So do that AI assessment, look at your data, look at your infrastructure, look at the resources of the team, the people on your team, look at their skill sets, and start to also think through a way to upskill them and prepare them to support and maintain whatever AI product you put in place.
So how do you do the AI assessment? Are you using a specific AI platform for that assessment?
No, it's the human part of AI to come in and understand the business problem and then look at the current landscape to really make sure that AI project is a success.
Before the podcast started, we have really been leaning into Generative Engine Optimization, a GEO. It's an extension of SEO. What would you tell companies to start doing now to get involved with Generative Engine Optimization so that they are populating on ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, any of the now many AI platforms that exist?
Right. Well, I'll tell you a funny story that really made me start to dig in and think more about this. So a couple of weeks ago, I was having a conversation with ChatGPT, as I often do. Yeah. And I asked ChatGPT, can you just tell me some of the good AI and machine learning courses on LinkedIn Learning? And my course came back as the top course.
Great.
I'm like, look at this. And I made sure I was not logged into ChatGPT. I was using it anonymously, so it didn't have the history of the conversations that I've had with it. And I thought to myself, how is that even possible? And I started to dig in, and I realized it's really important for organizations and platforms to make sure that the information about whatever product they have is in a human, in a machine not a human readable format, but more of a machine readable format. So think about using a lot of text, avoiding images where possible, making sure that your Google business profile is up to date. On your website, you have text-based FAQs that really describe your company and your product. Because when you look at a lot of these large language models, they are trained on almost everything that you find on the internet. And so it's just really important that your presence is in this machine readable format.
So any other pointers when it comes to that, like what nonprofits, other businesses should be doing? I mean, you mentioned FAQs, but blog entries, articles, can you speak more to that?
Yeah, all of that, all of what you've just mentioned, like your website, any blog articles that you write, it all becomes a part of your digital presence. And again, like I said, just make sure that where possible you can avoid images. But what we're seeing now with some of the later or newer forms of large language models, they're multimodal, meaning they can pick up and read like videos and they can read images. But at a bare minimum, you just need to make sure that you're using a lot of text to fully describe whatever product or whatever you want your digital presence to be.
Well, speaking of reading videos, obviously we create a lot of videos.
Right.
But it pains us when some of those videos are just uploaded to YouTube with no strategy. The descriptions might be missing, the tags might be missing as well. Can you speak about how important it is to use kind of some of those informal terms people might be using in ChatGPT or Claude, that they have that on the back end of their videos on YouTube?
Yeah, so like you mentioned around tagging and just really any type of metadata, like the title and the description, all of that goes into those large language models when they're looking at videos.
Do any companies come to mind that are using AI the right way? Do you have any great examples?
So Sephora has what they call this virtual try-on app, and it uses facial recognition, which is a form of AI, to actually look at the consumer and then make product recommendations and things like that. I think that is just a really cool way of using AI. And then around the holidays, Coca-Cola has this option where they use generative AI and they allow consumers to like generate images, generate like Christmas cards and things of that nature. I think we're just really starting to scratch the surface on how companies can think out of the box to use generative AI to just bring in more customers and just add unique experiences to their products.
You mentioned this a little bit, but where can AI really save businesses time and money?
First, you have to just look at your business processes across your organization and see where you have bottlenecks, see where things can be made repetitive. And that's just a great use of using AI. So that's where I always recommend organizations to start. But then if you're producing content, people today are using AI. Let's say you're going to write a blog post. You can have your bullet points and you can send that to AI to help pull out additional topics or ideas. People use AI to add captions to images, videos. And so there are just so many different places, but I always say look at your existing business processes, find where you have bottlenecks and where things can be automated.
How can some of the small and mid-sized businesses out there that don't have a large tech team take advantage of AI without spending a fortune?
Well, it's very easy to spend a fortune when you're using generative AI. I always recommend that smaller organizations start with these low-code or no-code tools. So think things like Copilot or things like the free version of ChatGPT. Like that's a great place to start. And then I always recommend to look at the AI features of the products that you already own. So what we're seeing, like all of these platforms are starting to incorporate AI. And sometimes in order to make use of those new features, it's not an upgrade. Like your current license gives you access to all of these new AI features. Sometimes you'll have to spend a little more money to be able to use those features, but always start and look at the products that you already own, that you already subscribe to, and start to use the new AI features in those tools.
For you, having been in the space, you mentioned since 2017, but probably longer than that as well, looking at what AI is, the way that AI has been unfolding just in the past year or two. Mm-hmm. In your opinion, who do you think is winning this AI race? I mean, you look at ChatGPT, they came on just fast and furious and have exploded, obviously. Gemini, Claude, Perplexity, Grok. Who's winning right now?
My opinion, OpenAI, the creators of ChatGPT, they are hands down winning, because when I look at the value that they provide to, I would say, builders, so people that create software, write software for their organizations or for their customers, OpenAI, they continue to add tools, I feel like almost on a daily basis. So they are really in tune with the market needs and what engineers and developers need to actually create AI tools. And like I said, every day there's just something new and exciting that they are adding.
From a marketing standpoint, and we just did some man on the street interviews with people in Midtown, and I interviewed one gentleman who said that they were spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on Google per month. He's like, yeah, we're having to change it, because I was asking them about GEO and how their marketing strategy has changed. What do you think is going to happen if OpenAI is winning this race and Google has always been the whale in the room? What's going to happen from a marketing standpoint?
What I see happening, and this is one of the new features that OpenAI just integrated into ChatGPT, it's the ability to sell within a conversation. So you're having a conversation with ChatGPT and you can buy a product on a different platform. Let's say, I'm making this up, Amazon. And so it's really going to cause a lot of organizations to rethink how they market and sell their products, and really have to figure out how to bridge that natural language or that conversational element with selling. And that new feature that OpenAI just brought on the market, to me, I think it's a very exciting feature, because now almost any organization can sell and make money through a conversation with ChatGPT.
What's your take? Back in the day, you go to Google and let's say you're looking for a plumber. Find a plumber in the Buckhead area. You came from Peachtree City. I need a plumber in Peachtree City. You have the sponsored links, the organic links, and then it just would go to pages and pages. But now with ChatGPT and these other AI platforms, they're only serving up maybe 4 options. Sometimes it's only 2. So what would you tell all these small businesses that they should be doing?
It's very important for all of those smaller businesses to make sure their digital presence is up to date and in this human readable format. Typically behind the scenes of like ChatGPT, there's a large language model, and that's trained up to a point in time. I'm sure you all have heard of like GPT-4, GPT-5, and so making sure that your digital presence, like I mentioned before, is just in that machine readable format, so that when they retrain the models, that it's up to date. But then also a lot of platforms like ChatGPT are now offering web search. And so if ChatGPT can't answer a question, it will search the web. So there again, making sure your presence is up to date and in that machine readable format.
Some leaders worry that AI might feel a bit impersonal, could be very risky. So how do businesses keep that human touch while still benefiting from AI?
Right. And so what I tell organizations, it's always important to have what we call that human in the loop. And so there should always be some form of human governance, auditing what the AI produces, also verifying what the AI produces before it's actually used to inform a business decision. And so keeping humans in the loop is going to be critical. I think that's the best way, and to also incorporate that governance, because that governance also has that responsible AI practice part of it that brings in that transparency and helps with trusting the AI system.
Is there a trend that you're seeing right now in the AI space that business owners, leaders should be watching closely?
Definitely, I'm sure you all have heard the term agents, AI agents. And agents are very exciting because they're different from that typical chatbot experience. So for example, when you have a question with ChatGPT, it's typically that sort of Q&A back and forth. Now, if you go in there and you ask ChatGPT, or you tell ChatGPT, hey, I think I need to reschedule my upcoming meeting, who knows what answer you're going to get from it. On the flip side, though, if you're using an agent can actually do things in the real world. And so if you tell an agent, hey, I think I need to reschedule my meeting, that agent is going to go check your calendar. It's going to look at openings to see if it can reschedule it. Then it's going to reschedule it. Then it's going to send an email. And so the shift that we're seeing today with using AI agents, I think all leaders need to stay on top of that. And the shift that we're starting to see, agents are starting to become teammates. So not replacing people, but just augmenting and helping people as they are working. And so I've been thinking about this a lot, because fast forward 3 years from now, we're going to be managing people and we're going to be managing agents. So what does it mean to shift from a people leader to now an agent leader? So I think that's something that leaders really need to be thinking about.
Are you using an agent right now?
I use agents all over the place. So because I'm in software engineering, I'm able to build my own agents. And so one repetitive process that I would do every morning, I would wake up and I would look at my calendar like most of us do. And I would tell my Alexa device, hey, set a reminder at 3 p.m. because I have this meeting. Set a reminder at 2 p.m. because I have this meeting. And that was something very repetitive that I would do every day. Just because my day becomes so busy, I sometimes forget that I have a meeting, like I need to stop work and actually go to a meeting. And so there's an agent, looks at my calendar, and then creates those reminders for me through Alexa. So you just think about your day-to-day, what do you do on a repetitive nature, and more than likely an agent can help you with that task.
What has it been like for you being in the space for a number of years, seeing where we already are in AI?
It's very exciting. So when I go back and I count the numbers, I've been in tech for 30 years. And I always ask myself, where did the time go? It's like a blink of an eye. But so I've been around for a lot of the emerging technology trends. So I was here when there's a very popular programming language called Java that revolutionized the way we build systems. And then I was here when the cloud computing and AWS was a big thing, and it still is. And then with AI and machine learning. And for a while I thought, I'm ready to retire. Like, I've been doing this for a long time. But when I see where we are with generative AI and where we are going, like, I have to stick around just to see where we end up.
Got it. Tell me about your LinkedIn courses. You said you were working over the weekend on one of your courses. Explain what you do.
Yeah, so on the side, so I have my regular 9 to 5, but on the side, I teach. And I realized that I had just this heart to teach and mentor maybe 14 or 15 years ago. And it was when I was working in the IT department of Chick-fil-A, and I started moving up the career ladder. And it pulled me like further and further away from the hands-on technology building that was just always fun for me. And so I thought to myself, what can I do to make sure my technology skills stay up to date and I remain relevant? And I thought, well, maybe I can start teaching. And when I did that, I just realized how much I actually loved it, how much I love just mentoring and helping the younger generation and just sort of pull them along. And so that turned into like teaching part-time, speaking at conferences, writing blog posts. But teaching has really been the part that just brings me the most joy. So it doesn't even feel like work. And so I teach a lot of courses on LinkedIn Learning around AI, machine learning, that Java programming language that I mentioned. But it's just a way for me to keep my skills sharp and current, but then also give back to the tech community.
That's fantastic. Good for you.
It's a lot of fun.
AI's been around for a while.
Right.
But it's really in the past couple of years just come on like that. And it is changing people's lives. And there are some that are like, wait a second, who's in charge here? What kind of, are we going to have Independence Day upon us? And, you know, what are we looking at? So what's your take on that?
Right. The science fiction movies have not helped with the overall perception. And some people may feel like AI is this brand new thing, but really it's not. It's been around for a very long time. But what has happened, ChatGPT, in my opinion, is really what took AI mainstream literally overnight. And some people maybe feel afraid, again, because of the science fiction movies. But when I think about how everyday people, regular people just use ChatGPT, there are ways that you can make sure that you're in control. So there are settings that you intentionally have to go in and flip on or off to ensure that your data is kept private, your conversations are kept private. And if you don't do that, it's important for people to understand that the conversations that you have with ChatGPT may be used to train the next version of ChatGPT. So ChatGPT 6, which is not even here yet, GPT 6. So it's just really important to understand how you're using the system, how your data and information will be transmitted back to OpenAI to further inform future tools and products that they build. So it's just very important to stay in control by setting those different privacy settings within ChatGPT. You can say things like, don't remember this conversation, don't send my data back to OpenAI, and things of that nature.
Very interesting. How do you use ChatGPT? I've seen some of my colleagues, they've got one continuous chat. And I'm like, well, just start a new chat. That way you can go and revisit your chat.
Right.
How are you doing it?
Right. So definitely you do not want to have one continuous chat, because at a point in time, that chat will no longer serve you any purpose, because large language models have what's called a context window. Think of it as their memory, and it's limited for a given chat. So in the past, that's a lesson that I've learned, where I've just had so many conversations. It's like now it starts to air out. It can't answer any questions. And it tells me I need to start a new chat. And so for every specific topic, have a separate chat. And then there's also a feature within ChatGPT where it can look across all of your conversations in order to answer a question. And so you don't have to just have that one conversation thread. You can have multiple threads, and it's better to organize it that way. So when you go back and you need to look at something again, that's how you can do it.
Yeah, I find it very helpful having multiple chats. So I can go back and, I had a conversation with Chad about that last week. I'm going to go back and continue that conversation. Are you using Claude, Gemini? Is there a preference for you?
Yeah, I've played around with the others, but for me, just OpenAI and ChatGPT and the GPT models have just always performed well above my expectations. Not to say the others don't, but ChatGPT and GPT-5,
It's where it's at.
it's where it's at.
Is there anything else you want to add?
I would just say that, we're entering this new era, and I don't want people to be like afraid, but be excited of what this generative AI and AI technology can do, and just think about ways that it can make your life easier. And just go in there and just start to play around with it, experiment with it, and then you'll start to see more ways that you can use it, different use cases that you can apply it to, and then you'll be hooked, honestly. And I've gotten a lot of my friends hooked on it. I'm like, you're not using ChatGPT for this? You should give it a try. And then months later, they're like, oh my goodness, I am so glad you told me.
Life-changing.
Right, it is. So just don't be afraid of it. And like I mentioned, there are ways that you can ensure your data privacy and security within those tools. So just don't be afraid, embrace it.
Embrace it.
Yeah.
Keisha, thank you so much for being on the Create Your News podcast.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.